evening, everybody. My name's Jan Rather. I'm the Infrastructure Engagement Manager for the City of Pittsburgh. I'm here tonight to talk about the California Ave Bridge Rehabilitation Project. Just want to give a quick shout out to the Brighton Heights Senior Center. They're serving as a cooling center today. So some folks may be coming in and out just for the cooling center, not necessarily for the meeting. Shout out to the staff that stay late to make sure that we can use these facilities as cooling centers on hot days. Also shout out to our City Channel team who's here recording this meeting so that we can put it on to our Engage PGH page after the meeting for anybody who's not here to rewatch the recording. If you could move on to the next slide. This is just our meeting overview. We'll do a couple of brief introductions. We'll go through our meeting norms, our safety overview, an overview for folks on Zoom. Then I'm going to hand it over to the team for the project purpose, and we'll talk through the bridge overview, rehabilitation work, the bridge typical cross-section, which you'll see around the room as well. Then we'll talk about construction, staging, the schedule, and then we'll go into questions and answers from folks that are here and anybody online. So, Erin, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I am Erin Cowan. I am a senior project manager with the city. I'm an engineer, and I work mostly with the bridges and some with the steps. And
Kevin, I'll do this.
Yeah.
Here's Kevin.
My name is Kevin Hartnett. I am MS Consultants project manager. The city hired MS Consultants to do the design of this bridge rehabilitation.
Thanks. My colleague Drew would typically be running digital engagement, but he couldn't make it tonight. But I'm joined by Paul Scott, who's our senior manager for neighborhood services. This is also the neighborhood that he is the community representative for. Next slide. Okay, so real quick, our meeting norms. We're a relatively small group, so I don't expect any issues. But first and foremost, your physical and psychological safety. We'll go through the physical safety in a second. In terms of your psychological safety, want you to be here to listen to learn, disagree respectfully, appreciate differences of opinion. You may see something you like that your neighbor hates. Be open to new ideas and be present. Take in what you can so that you can share it with your neighbors. So as for our safety overview, the main exit will be the same entrance that I think everybody came in. There's first aid, I believe, in the office here, and I'll be the person to call 911 in case of emergency. Just wave. I will be the person to call 911. If something happens to me, please, one of you call 911. All right, we can move on. For Zoom, I think we only have 1 or 2 people on there. We just ask that you remain muted. If you have a question on Zoom, you can raise your hand and either ask it verbally or use the chat function, and we'll ask the question in the room for you. The way we do that is we bounce back and forth between Zoom and questions in the room. So you'll see me checking Zoom for questions. With that, I'm going to hand it over, I think, to Kevin and Erin for the presentation. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jan. And thank you all for coming. It's glad to have a room full of people interested in the project and the bridge. So we'll start at the very beginning, the project purpose. In order to know if you have a successful project at the end of the day, you have to define why you're doing the project in the first place. The paragraph on the screen is the technical project purpose for the environmental scoping document. But the real project purpose is to fix and paint this bridge so that it can remain a good, safe, reliable mode of transportation for all users, pedestrians, bicycles, cars, trucks, buses, everyone that uses the bridge. Bridge overview. You're probably familiar with it. The bridge was built in 1928, nearly 97 years old. It will likely be 100 years old when the project begins the actual construction of the rehabilitation. It is eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. The most recent rehab, we talked a little earlier, was in 1981. And as much as I like to not realize it, that's quite a while ago now, 44 years. So it's time for another repair project. It is a major connection between Marshall Shadeland and Brighton Heights neighborhoods and carries a PRT Route 13 bus line. What we call the typical section, the bridge typical section, sort of cutting a slice through the bridge as it is today, there's 38 feet from curb to curb, which is pretty wide. There is a double yellow line striped right down the middle and some white lines right at each curb line, basically giving you two 19-foot wide lanes, which is a very wide lane. Normal lane on the interstate is 12 feet wide. There are barriers at each curb line and a raised sidewalk behind the barriers, curved fence, pedestrian fence, and these sidewalk brackets are located outside the truss, and as you can see, they support the two sidewalks, which sort of overhang off the side of the bridge. There are some changes planned before the rehabilitation project. As you know, one of the sidewalks is already closed. These sidewalk brackets that I mentioned before are in pretty bad shape. They're rusting and deteriorating, and the sidewalk concrete itself, especially at the joints, is deteriorating. So the bridge is inspected every 6 months, the bridge sidewalks, because of their condition, which is pretty regular. And one of the sidewalks was closed, and based on those inspections, the city's anticipating closing the other sidewalk. In order to accommodate that, they're working on a reconfiguration that'll put an 8-foot wide pedestrian walkway on the bridge deck itself inside the curb line, and shift the 2 lanes of traffic to the other side at 14 feet each. Even that's still wider than a normal 12-foot lane. So the bridge has plenty of width to accommodate both the pedestrians and vehicles, even in the temporary condition. It'll be like this until the repair project begins, the major repair project that we're here to talk about tonight. That major repair project, here's the work that we anticipate doing in the project. The blue shading, we're going to provide a brand new concrete deck and concrete sidewalks and concrete barriers. There'll be new bridge lighting. The red shading is bituminous or blacktop paving to tie the new bridge deck into the existing roadway system. The truss itself will be cleaned, blast painted. The areas that have rusted and have deteriorated or thinned because of the rusting will be reinforced, and then the whole bridge will get a nice new paint job. We'll put a new drainage system on the bridge. So the scuppers on the deck, which are the inlets with the pans that catch the water, as well as all the pipes that carry that water down to the ground below, will all be replaced. And then there's 7 supports, pier supports, and abutment supports. So any concrete cracking or concrete spalling in any of those supports will be repaired at the same time. The proposed typical section, it looks similar at a glance to the existing. It's still 38 feet from curb to curb, but we're going to stripe it a little differently with the yellow line down the middle, and we're actually going to stripe 2 5-foot shoulders to create 2 14-foot lanes closer to the center of the bridge. That'll allow flow better on and off the bridge where there is curbside parking allowed on both ends of the bridge. So rather than cars being all the way over by the curb and then needing to come in to avoid the parking, this should alleviate, just make that a better flow. We're eliminating the barrier at the curb line. It's not necessary, and it allows to make the sidewalks a little bit wider, a little more comfortable for the users. The dark black is a new concrete deck and raised sidewalks. One thing that's different about that, the existing deck actually has a joint here at the curb line and another joint behind this barrier. Those joints are allowing salt water in the winter and rain sort of work its way down into the truss and cause a lot of that deterioration. So in the new configuration, it's a uniform concrete deck the whole way across, eliminating those joints to keep the water going into that drainage system and off the steel. So hopefully not just correct the problems that are out there now, but prevent them from happening as quickly in the future. We're going to repair the truss, like I said, reinforce members that have been rusting, steel repairs, and all of these sidewalk brackets will be removed and replaced with new sidewalk brackets. We're not going to repair the ones that are out there. They're just all coming off and getting replaced. This is sort of a right-of-way map of the existing property parcels out there. The bridge is basically inside this green box that you see there. And all the peach color is city-owned right-of-way for roadway. So California Avenue itself, McClure and Eckert down under the bridge, and Bainton and other roads there, that's all city-owned right-of-way. Excuse me. The yellow is city-owned parcels, so the city owns 5 or 6 parcels in the area. And the blue is owned by Allegheny County. That's an Allegheny County property. The only piece of right-of-way that the city is going to acquire at this point on the project is this purple square here, where one of the walls that supports a sidewalk actually leaks out of the existing right-of-way right now, and it should be within the right-of-way. So the city will purchase some right-of-way from Allegheny County to sort of fix that problem and sort of capture that part of the wing and get it inside of city right-of-way. And then inside of the green square, green rectangle, the city plans to pursue aerial easements in that area. What an aerial easement is, we all know the bridge is quite a bit above the ground below. So that gives the city permission to maintain and operate their bridge, to inspect their bridge, to fix their bridge. It does not change any property ownership of any of those parcels. So the folks that own those parcels now will continue to own them. It just gives the city permission to maintain the bridge and operate the bridge. Construction staging, we've done a bunch of coordination already. The city is obviously puts a high priority on mobility and maintaining mobility. We coordinated with the PRT, and if we were to close the bridge to traffic, it becomes very difficult to maintain that bus line and service those folks that use the bus line. Bus stops would be affected. The route that the bus takes is cumbersome, and it would be hard to stay on schedule, et cetera. There's a lot of reasons why that would be very difficult. I've mentioned earlier that the bridge is pretty wide, and it's wide enough that we can maintain a single lane of traffic in alternating directions and maintain pedestrians the entire time during construction. So we won't have to detour traffic, and we won't have to detour pedestrians. What I mean by one lane of alternating traffic is if you're going southbound, there'll be some temporary signals at each end of the bridge. So if you're going southbound, you might get a red light to wait while traffic comes northbound on the bridge. And then the lights will change. The northbound folks will get a red light, and the southbound folks will be allowed to go across the bridge. So one lane of traffic and pedestrians, and that will give the contractor half of the bridge to remove the deck, fix the truss, replace the sidewalk brackets, and build a new deck and sidewalk. Once he's done with that, they'll move the single temporary lane onto that new construction and the pedestrians, and it'll give him access to the other side of the bridge to finish the construction work. The bridge is currently eligible to be listed on the National Register of Historic Places. There's a pretty detailed process laid out for projects with historic or eligible historic resources near them. And MS Consultants, as the designer, and our sub-consultants are working through that process. There is a role called a consulting party where folks can chime in on their opinion on the historic resource, the contributing things that make it historic. So if anyone's interested in finding out more about that consulting party process, you can talk to us after the meeting. Project schedule. We started last spring on our preliminary design. You can see we're in the blue now, having our public meeting in the summer of 2025 to introduce the project to the stakeholders, gather feedback. We hope to finish preliminary design up shortly and get into our final design this fall, probably late fall. And it'll take about 2 years to do all the actual detailed design of the repairs, et cetera, which would mean the project would advertise for contractors to bid on it in the fall of 2027 and likely award to the contractor in that fall, which almost certainly means construction wouldn't start until the following spring. They'll have plenty of stuff to do over the winter before they can actually hit the ground and start working. So that would be spring of 2028. We're still refining the construction schedule, but Based on the size of the bridge and the fact that we're doing it one half and then the next half, it'll probably take 2.5 years of construction and finish up in the fall of 2030 is our best guess. So the next steps are for us as the design consultants to finish this preliminary design and environmental engineering. We're going to investigate the constructability, how those stages will work a little more closely, and refine the construction schedule and get a better grasp of how long the construction will really take, and coordinate with the city and PennDOT to begin final design. John?
So with that, we'll open up to questions. I'm just going to turn this monitor here so I can follow anything on Zoom, but we're going to use this mic just so that it gets captured in the recording. I know most of us can hear each other in here, but if you have a question, I'm going to pass this mic around so that we can capture it. Any questions?
I'm Donna Kramer. I belong to the Brighton Heights Citizens Federation, and I have lived near this bridge since 1969. You're saying that it's going to take till 2030. Do you feel safe to say that as far as our safety with the deterioration of this bridge and how long it's going to take? Because one thing I'll say, when the Fern Hollow Bridge collapsed is when everybody started to look at us, and we were complaining for years. But people got hurt. But there were no homes and businesses underneath that bridge. There is with this one. And when someone's life gets lost, you're liable for a big lawsuit. So is this a safe thing for 5 years to make us wait to make the bridge all safe? I feel very insecure about waiting 5 years.
Zach, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Zach Workman. I'm the Deputy Chief Engineer for the department. And so regarding, all that we've looked at with all the city's bridges, especially since the Fern Hollow Bridge collapse, this bridge has obviously been a focal point for the community, for the media, and it's also been a focal point for the department. We have looked at this very closely with our inspectors. It's been inspected, every 6 months for the last several years. It's had comprehensive analysis of its current condition to confirm its safe capacity for vehicles and pedestrians to use it today. And so this is, I would say we're giving this bridge our closest attention. And from everything that we've observed and inspected, this is a safe bridge for vehicles and for pedestrians to continue using the structure. Having said that, we do have these issues with the sidewalks. We have had reports of debris dropping from the structure. We've wrapped the areas of the bridge that have seen the worst issues with drainage that has caused the paint system to deteriorate. And so at this point, we're going to continue to monitor, and we're going to adapt as necessary to, as findings, as, the condition changes. But from everything we've seen, the bridge is safe to operate today, and will remain safe until we can get to construction. And the fact that we're proposing keeping traffic on the bridge during construction, that's another factor that the designers and the city and our inspectors investigate. And so really, that kind of speaks to our confidence that the truss, the primary structure, is in it's in fair condition and can support the loads that are on it. So yeah.
Thanks, Zach.
My name's Judy Benson. I live in Brighton Heights. With the construction going on, how's it going to affect the buildings and the people down below? like if something does fall down, or if you dig something off and it's too much scrap and it falls, is that going to be a problem?
Thanks.
So the contractor will be required to put shielding, underdeck shielding, under the bridge, so that, for exactly that reason, and it will extend out beyond. It won't just be directly below the bridge, but will extend somewhat beyond that, and it'll be designed for just that, for something accidentally falling.
I'm not seeing any questions on Zoom, so if there's any other questions in the room, Joe.
I'm Joseph Glassbrenner. I'm the president of the Brighton Heights Citizens Federation. And so I did get here. I apologize a couple minutes late, but I see the sections of the decking, and I saw the review from what would change in that. But I was wondering, is there going to be any type of restoration to the steel structure of the member itself, painting and a lot of the flaking and deterioration of the beams that are coming down?
Yes, absolutely. That's really, other than the deck replacement, that's really the primary reason of the project, is to repair the steel structure, the arch itself, and the approach spans. So they'll be blasted and cleaned. Any areas that have deteriorated and have been reduced in section from the rust and that need to be reinforced will be reinforced with new steel. They'll either be replaced in kind with new members or reinforced with additional steel to bring them up to their total capacity. And then the whole bridge will get completely painted.
Any other questions? Yep. I'll go here and then come back to you. Thanks.
Nick Petrillo, Land Use Chair for Brighton Heights Citizens Federation. Sort of going off that comment, when you talk about in the sections like stage 1, stage 2, has there been any thought to doing stage 1 as the whole underside, then stage 2 as one side of the bridge, and stage 3 as the other? That way you're impacting traffic for less time for those on top, and you really get at the heart of what the community is worried about. Because I would say, although definitely about the sidewalks, I would say that at least what I hear is a lot less about the road surface and a lot more about the steel structure of the bridge.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we're going to refine our constructability analysis and the actual staging of the project. So there will be painting, perhaps, that isn't even really accounted for in those two stages. The stages really were meant to convey how the traveling public will be impacted. Those are the stages that folks will notice when the temporary signals come up and now they're waiting to cross the bridge. But there will absolutely be other construction going on below the bridge outside of those two distinct stages.
Just want to add real quick because that is a great point that you bring up. Typically with this type of construction, they'll install that shielding that was mentioned earlier underneath the whole part. They won't just do half of it. Yeah. So I know the community, again, as you all have mentioned, that would be covered probably from the beginning. Again, this is why final design takes so long, because we have to work out all these different details. They will also be looking at the structural stability, and you don't want to necessarily remove members over something that's supporting traffic. So that's also why when you look at those stages, it might look a little bit more like they have to do more work on the side that's not supporting a bunch of traffic load. But they will be looking at all those different calculations and what can and can't be done to make construction as short as possible.
Did you have a follow-up? Yeah, I think you were starting to ask another question.
It was just, I think you've answered it, but I was just saying that, like, we just had the McKees Rocks Bridge, and they did that where they shut down one half and then shut down the other. And I was just wondering, since this was smaller, if you could do the whole undersection first without limiting traffic. But I mean, you're absolutely right. You don't want to be welding any steel down below if you have cars over on top and things moving. So if that's the way it's going to happen, then I understand. I do actually have one more, which is with the issues of PRTs currently having, if for some reason the 13 gets either removed as a bus or severely dropped down, I don't know what their current, I know their current budget has been dropped unless the state will fund it. I don't know if there's any knowledge of which specific lines it would be, but if the 13 is one of them, would that possibly allow you to do this quicker?
The city is committed to maintaining pedestrians and vehicles. They have a number of bridges closed to vehicles, and they're trying to maintain mobility. So they may still opt to maintain vehicles on the bridge during construction, even if the bus is not as big of a factor. That certainly was one of the primary considerations for maintaining traffic. They may still maintain traffic even with that. If traffic were not maintained, it could theoretically be, it would be a shorter construction duration, overall construction duration, but the impact could be worse too. Folks that are driving a 6 or 7 mile, 10-minute detour every single day may rather wait at a light and have it open for the 3 seasons or 2 construction seasons. So.
Absolutely, just wondering.
You had a question here?
Peggy Ursula, Brighton Heights Citizens Federation. Will there be any limitation on weight of vehicles using the bridge during construction?
There could be. The bridge is currently been rated and analyzed by a different company and has no load posting on it right now, so it can carry all legal loads. With the addition of the construction loads, that's part of what we'll look into during final design, is if that would need to be modified. I would think that oversized or overweight loads would certainly be prohibited during construction, and there is a chance that you may want to limit vehicle loads, but it's tough to tell in preliminary design. My gut feeling that it would not be, and the contractor would be required to stay under certain loads as well, so that the bridge can remain operating as it is now.
When you say that, as far as Peggy, with the weight, living on California Avenue, I can't tell you how many 18-wheelers go up and down every single day. Huge. Then they decide, oh, I'm lost. So they try to back up into Baton Street and try to turn around. It's a mess. So limiting the weight would be a fantastic idea with these Gigunda trailers. Trust me.
We'll note that.
Exactly.
We'll take that as a comment.
Exactly. Go to 65 and come up and go back down.
Yeah, Zach?
I just want to add on to that every neighborhood we go to has the same frustrations with tractor trailers. Pittsburgh has got to be one of the worst places to be a truck driver. But, they do have, the city does try outreach to trucking companies so that they're using dedicated GPS, not your everyday Google Maps. And this is a pervasive problem across the city, and we're trying to do something about that.
Any other? Yep, Nick. Thanks.
So you guys talked about the different organizations that you've talked to. I just wanted to double check. Have you guys had discussions with the sewer company? Because they are right over on the other side of the bridge. They may have things moving underneath. I just didn't hear it in your presentation. Wanted to make sure that that was a connection that you make sure you make. That's all.
Yep, we're doing utility coordination, electric, water, sewer.
That's not what I mean.
Oh.
It's the giant sewer treatment plant is less than 100 yards.
Elk Stand. Oh, yeah.
On the bottom, so they might have their own trucks coming in and out that, so it would be more for under the bridge? or
Yeah.
on top of it? So that's a connection I just want to make sure you have.
We can look at that as well. It's pretty limited in that, is it a railroad bridge? There's a really low clearance bridge right around there as well, so. It's pretty low, yeah.
Never a dull moment around, yeah.
I'm making sure I'm scanning the room to see if there's any other questions. Any questions over here? Otherwise, I think we'll wrap up the presentation. We'll give Kevin oh, is there a question here? Yeah. Yeah, so we've got a survey form. I believe it's where folks came in. If you walked in without registering or signing your name, if you pre-registered, we'd appreciate you signing in just so that we can keep you up to date. There are these boards, and the team will be around to answer questions if you have them, so feel free to come up, speak to folks one-on-one. If you're with the project team or associated with the project, do you mind raising your hand just so the folks in the room can find you? So there's a couple folks back here as well, so if you want to talk to somebody one-on-one, folks with their hands raised are who you want to get with. You can contact neighbor@pittsburghpa.gov. We also have an Engage PGH page for this. We've been sending updates via Brighton Heights Citizens Federation, the council districts, but the Engage page is a great way to stay in touch. And if you registered with your email, we'll add you to our email list as well. Yeah, there's pens back there.
Absolutely do.
All right.
Turn these in tonight or up to 30 days from now
Great.
to the website listed on the back of the form. You can take it home, think about it, put your words together, turn it in.
Is this the same survey where if you go to the Engage plate, you can click on it, you can do it right there?
We're going to be putting the same survey up there, yep.
We'll make sure that gets out.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I think that's it, so thanks.